Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, what's on tap for today? Well, once again, we have those lovable leftist lunatic ladies of the view, who I affectionately like to call the rear view, and they are interviewing Greta Thunberg, who I also like to basically call Greta out of tune, out of touch Berg. And once again, climate hysteria is basically what this is all about. The world is ending. Get rid of fossil fuels. Let's get the expert, Greta out of Thunberg. Let's ask her some questions, and that's exactly what The View is going to do. They're going to be so far up Greta Thunberg's rectum, folks, that you'll be able to see The View, the cackling hens of The View. Whenever Greta opens up her mouth, you'll be able to see them right there. And we're going to get to all that in the next few seconds. But before we do so, we just want to let you know that you're watching the Dr. Nasir Sheikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let's get to the cackling hens of The View and Greta out of tune, out of touch Berg. Let's do that right now.
In the last 5 years, Greta Thunberg has gone from a solo student activist to an international icon in the movement to combat climate change. Now she and more than 100 experts are sounding yet another global warning on the crisis in the climate book, which is right here. Joining us from Sweden, please welcome Greta Thunberg.
Very nice to be here.
So Greta, thank you for coming on the show. Congratulations on the book. We should point out that it's been 60 degrees here in New York this week in mid-February. Just saying. I wonder, how would you describe where we stand today in terms of the climate crisis? Are we better or worse off than when you began striking 5 years ago?
It depends on how you see it. If you see it from one perspective, the concentration, the level of CO2 in the atmosphere is higher now than it was before. And we are seeing more and more natural disasters. More people are displaced. More people are losing their lives and livelihoods due to the consequences of the climate crisis. So in that sense, we are far worse off than we were before. But also we can see that more and more people are starting to stand up and speak out about these issues, and more people are mobilizing. So, but it's going way, way too slow. So I would say we're both better off and much worse off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That was powerful, so powerful. The great Greta out of tune, out of touchberg was asked the question, what do you think, better off or worse off? And she came up with the unbelievably, the professorial answer. We're better off and we're worse off. Wow, I am just amazed. I'm in the presence of greatness. Aren't we all? Let's see the next question.
Greta, President Biden recently called climate change a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear war. But you write in the new book that Biden and our world leaders are not even moving in the right direction in terms of addressing the climate crisis. How so?
Targets are on site.
So here.
In my opinion, in order to move in the right direction to combat the climate crisis, that does not include financing and expanding fossil fuel infrastructure, as an example. It's like we treat the climate crisis like a political issue among other political issues. It's like a side topic. We need to understand that the climate crisis is an existential emergency, which is already endangering countless of people all over the world, the most affected people in areas. And that's not something that we can just ignore and postpone until the future.
Okay, so first of all, Alyssa asked a question that Joe Brandon says what? That climate change is much more dangerous than thermonuclear war. Okay, that's just basically an idiot statement from an idiot president who is just basically senile, dementiated. And yes, I use the word dementiated and senile, absolutely. And so Greta uses her professorial answer to basically say, oh, everyone's being displaced. This is just a political question. In a way, folks, Thank God it's being done in a political way, because that means that nothing will be done, because nothing needs to be done. We're not talking about environmental concerns. We're talking about getting rid of fossil fuels. This moron, this idiot, this person who pretends to be the savior of the planet, or basically says we can save the planet if we just get rid of fossil fuels. Where's the rest of the world? All right? In Africa, in places of Latin America, and other places around the world where there still need fossil fuel to bring them out. In many places, it's still the dark ages out there, folks. They're just not up there with the first world countries, are they? And yet these people can they can stay up there on their high horses, their high perches, and basically just, look down to us and say, we know what to do. Follow us. Do you see what's happening in Europe now? Do you know what's happening in Germany, in France, in Scotland, in Italy, in Germany, because they followed this idiot's advice? Look it up and you'll see what's happening with energy prices. They don't have the energy infrastructure now because some of them, they decommissioned nuclear reactors, decommissioned coal plants. And people are out there, in the freezing cold because of what they did. Unbelievable, folks. Anyways, let's continue answering Greta out of tune, out of Touchberg.
Well, Greta, last month you were detained and carried away by the police while protesting the expansion of a coal mine in Germany. Was this the first time you've been apprehended like that? And given how passionate you are, is it safe to assume this won't be the last?
Unfortunately, it seems like we are moving in the wrong direction when it comes to the climate. So unfortunately, if we continue like now, we will probably see more and more people doing the same thing, and me included. I feel like I want to, in the future, be able to look back and say that I did everything I could in this time when we were experiencing an accelerating climate crisis and when we still could avoid the worst consequences of it. We must remember that if we want to see real changes, we can't. If we look through history, if people who were advocating for example, social justice, if they had only used the legal methods, then we wouldn't be where we are today. For example, when it comes to racial rights and women's voting and etc. So we need to think outside the box because this is an existential crisis.
Greta, listening to you now, it's hard to believe that you grew up with selective mutism. For years, you only spoke to family members and one teacher. Now you have one of the biggest megaphones in the world, and you're not afraid to go toe-to-toe with world leaders like Vladimir Putin or Donald Trump. How have you managed to do that?
For me, I'm autistic, so actually, personally, it's much easier for me to make speeches in front of thousands of people and address world leaders like that than to make small talk in my everyday life. But of course, if you really believe in something and if you are fighting for a cause, at least for me, I found a reason to speak, and that's what I'm doing now. I thought I need to do something. Someone needs to do something, and that someone could be me. And then I just did it without actually thinking of the consequences of, for example, school striking for the climate. But then, things happened that no one could have expected. And then I was just suddenly facing the opportunities of having a big platform. And then I thought, I need to use this for as long as I can, for as long as I have it.
Right. And Greta.
Listen. The fact of the matter is she's allowed to have her opinion. Hey, everyone's allowed to have their opinion. Her opinion just happens to be wrong. We know that to be wrong. We know the data has been manipulated. We know there's no such thing as an existentialism, crisis occurring. We've been hearing this. Remember the Time magazine article saying that the Ice Age was coming? Then the Ice Age never came. Then they said, we're going to be hit with unbelievable temperatures and we're just going to be burned to death. And then if we don't do that, it's going to be the food crisis, not going to be enough food around. We can't have population crisis. All of these things come out. They never bear anything. Lately, we got 10 years left, only 10 years. Now, that was, I think, pre-COVID. So that's what, another 3, 4 years we're talking basically. So, do we have 6 years left? I mean, these people are just absolute idiots and morons. And yes, she's got her mouthpiece, she's got her megaphone, she can talk all she wants, but I'm telling you, her generation will never acquiesce to do the things that are needed, because once you start telling them what they need to do to try to come about these supposed changes that will help, they don't want to give anything up. Ask them. That's a fact. Let's continue.
Speaking of platforms, infamous social media troll Andrew Tate tried to taunt you by asking for your email address so he could send you a list of the, quote, enormous emissions of his 33 cars put into the environment.
Nice.
I can't repeat your brilliant response to him on daytime TV, so people need to use their imagination, but it's now one of the most liked tweets of all time. Why are awful people like him so triggered by you?
I don't know. I mean, you would think that those kinds of people could do better off using their time in some other way. There are many, many problems in the world that we need people dealing with. But it seems like they feel so threatened, or they feel like their worldview is so threatened by people like me, climate activists and environmental activists, speaking up, that they feel like they feel like they need to silence us and mock us and etc. But that, I think, should be seen as a positive sign, because that means that we are actually having an impact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending their time trolling us online.
That's right. It means you're getting into good trouble, as the late John Lewis would say. Well, Greta.
It means you're getting into good trouble there, as the late John Lewis would say. Another moron, another idiot. Sonny, the Asuncion Cummings Hostin, the fake name player. Anyways, the reason why Andrew Tate and others are saying is because the existential threat is not from climate change. It is from fools like you, Greta out of tune, out of touchberg, because you are trying to rob us. You are trying to take away from us the great things that society has given us, the things that we need to live every single freaking day of our lives, so that it's easier for us to do things. It's easier for us to travel. It's easier for us to utilize the energy resources that we have. That doesn't mean we can't use all of them, but you want to get rid of every single one and basically just say, people, use wind and solar, and that's pretty much it. And that's why people get upset. That's why people want to answer back. And like he said, he's got 33 cars. You want to take his 33 cars away from him, you fool. Why? Who died and made you king and queen? Who did? Nobody. You can have your opinions, but when your opinions start to affect our life, our livelihoods, the way we live, the way we want to, work and play and raise our children and do what we want to do, that's where we've got to basically have a line of demarcation and say, you know what? If you don't want to drive a car, fine. You don't have to. You don't want to fly? You don't have to fly. You don't want to use gas? You don't have to use gas. You want to use cow dung to heat your home? Fine. You want to have your latrine and your toilet, sit outside the house? Okay, fine. You do it. You want to give up your phone? You want to give up your TV? You want to give up you want to give up your heat, your electricity, your AC? You want to do all that? Fine, go do it. But don't tell me that I have to do it or tell us that we have to do it.
Today marks week number 235 of your Friday climate strikes. Congratulations on that. You've also made major lifestyle changes. You stopped flying. You've gone vegan. You only buy new things when you absolutely have to. And we commend you for all of that. But there are some people that will feel that those kinds of changes are too drastic given the global economy to implement in their own lives. What would you say to them? How can we all do our part?
I think that we need to move away the focus from only individual action to a larger systemic action. Of course, we can't have system change without individual change, but still, as long as we focus on only people, for example, stop flying or becoming vegan, which is, of course, good things, but if we think that this is the way to do it, and we forget about those who are actually responsible for the climate crisis, like the multinational companies who are purposely destroying lives and livelihoods and the planet in order to maximize short-term profits. Those are the people that we need to go after. And we know who these people are. So instead of only focusing on individual action, we should move the focus to them and put pressure on them.
Greta, quickly, we hear.
So in other words now is go after the multinational corporations, shut them down. Basically shut every multinational corporation down. Why? Because these are the guys that are the evildoers in the world. And let's just put millions of people out of work so that they're not making anything, they're not producing anything, they're not getting anything, they're not making any money, they can't live in their homes, they're going to be kicked out of their homes, they can't pay rent, they can't, put gas in a car, can't do any of those things. We need to go after the multinational corporations. Those are the evil ones. That's the kind of advice we're getting from a fool like Greta out of tune, out of touchberg.
You have some very unique stress relievers, beans and frog hats. We have a great photo of you and Malala actually sporting these frog hats. How do these two items help you unwind exactly?
Okay, I didn't even know about this, but this now becomes part of my simmer. She's part of my simmer group, the acronym that I coined. This is absolutely stupid, okay? She just said that this helps her to think, helps her to wind down, helps her to think about the climate crisis or whatever, this stupid frog hat or whatever. Folks, this is who we want to listen to? This is who we want our energy advice from? This is who we want to be telling us how to live our lives, how we should dress, what we wear, what we drive, what we eat, how we fly? I mean, what we do. This is who we want to get it from? These idiots, these climate, always say this is the church of climatology. And they want us to bow down to this church. And I say that is something that we shall never, ever, ever, ever do. These people are absolutely lunatics. They're delusional. Their thinking is one-dimensional. And all they want to do is make a name for themselves and go out there and feel good. Social justice warriors, woke activists, they feel good, talk a lot, do absolutely nothing. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Sheikh Show. I've been your guest host today. My name is Dr. Nasir, and we'd just like you to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.